Welcome into the dubdup Husky Football podcast, you guys. We've got a great episode for you. We break down everything that you need to know about the Washington escape from the desert in Arizona, ranked number 7 in the country. Plus, we look ahead to the Oregon Duck game at home at Husky Stadium, a top 10 matchup. Big game, obviously a lot on the line. We give you everything that you need to know here. Plus, is there some recruiting news on the horizon? We'll find out. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell in the corner so you can get updates on everything that we do here, and join the dubdup VIP Discord with a link down in the description below. Enjoy the show. Go Dogs.
Welcome to Dubdup Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Blunt. Today we're going to dive into a lot. I got my guys Noah and Izzo with me. Fellas, we escaped the desert. And when I say escaped, we escaped. Izzo, how you feeling about this, man?
Mixed emotions. I think that's probably the same with everybody. I thought, during the game, you get a lot of reactions, or we're obviously seeing a lot of reactions on the Discord and Twitter and things like that. And I thought that initially I was like, I think this game went a lot better than what how everybody was reacting. But having watched it back a couple of times, dug through things, I can see a lot more of the things that we need to clean up for sure. I mean, it was obvious we need to clean up on penalties and those different types of things. But overall, I don't think the score indicated truly what this game actually looked like at the end of the day. But yeah, that's essentially how I feel. I feel like we played well, but not to our standard.
And we are 5-0. That is a
Yeah.
fact. And we are going to be playing the Ducks, who are 5-0. And Noah, I know this is what we've been waiting for. How are you feeling considering how we performed and the fact that we did get out of the desert, where last year we didn't get out of the desert? So
yeah, man. No, I mean, first off, 5-0, man. It's where we expected to be. It's where we want to be. What's interesting about that game, I think Izzo kind of touched on it. I mean, I never felt like we were going to lose that game. It just didn't go the way we wanted. But I was never like really that nervous. I was looking on ESPN and it was talking about how our win probability never, like, the whole game dropped under like 89.2. So I mean, like, I think the computers also kind of agreed. Like, I don't think they were too nervous either. And that desert, man, it just does weird things to the dogs, man. And it's
really
like,
does.
it's warm. I think our guys were getting tired there at the end. If you watched, we had Lance Holtzclaw. He was in for multiple plays. As Arizona was making that final drive. But man, 5-0, we're there. We're college game day, baby. Here it comes.
It's about to be really, really big here in Seattle, especially considering where we're at, the hatred that we have for the Ducks. When both teams are good, it seems to really ramp up even more. But let's take a closer look at this Arizona game. The final score was 31-24, which I agree with you, Noah. It definitely didn't feel as close as it was. They were the first team this year to really go after Michael Penix and what he does best, and that's the deep ball and the big plays. And they were able to slow it down. Let's break down how they were able to actually slow this down. Noah, how about you jumped in first with this one?
Yeah, I think you heard it on the call. A lot of guys, the announcers were talking about they got 7 DBs on the field. They got 8 DBs on the field, and they just put, like, we talked about a little bit of the Cal game, how they put like this cloud defense, or like this shell, so because Cal was trying to kind of do the same thing, but man, Arizona really took it to the extreme and said, you're going to have to dump everything. And if you kind of watch the game, man, the flats were open like all game, really. And one of the big things we were doing to kind of chop up those yards was, Mike was doing a really good job getting the balls to the running backs, getting the balls to the receivers in those flats. And we really asserted a lot of dominance to go up 14-0 again, very quick. And I think Grubb probably wasn't ready to see that 8, that it was at 8 DB coverage. And so I think we were still trying to really put the ball into Mike's hands, which I mean, man, he's a little tried and true, man. I mean, Mike Penix always seems to deliver when needed. But man, I think it was really good for us to see that, especially before our bye, because I think we're going to be able to really kind of dive into the film, correct some things, and kind of be able to, because we know other teams are going to kind of look at that blueprint and try to do it against us as well.
Definitely, they definitely threw us off our game for a quick second, but I think I like that we were able to adjust, and we didn't need the big plays to win. When you were watching that play out and how Michael Penix was just taking what was given to him, and the running game was asserting itself, what did that make you think?
Well, the first thing that jumped out to me was how well the skill position players that were called upon that typically weren't called upon were executing. One of the things the hypotheses that I had as we were reviewing the game was that a lot of the holding penalties and some of the misnomers you saw on the offensive side of the ball had something to do with the change in offensive scheme to adjust for the fact that they were dropping, 7-8 guys back in coverage, right? And so, I think I was able to confirm that there, and I'm not going to put this on the scheme and that it's, write it off and say that, hey, the only reason why there was a bunch of blunders on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to penalties is because of the scheme change. There are some mental things that happened within this game and how quick paced it was and things like that. And the heat and those different types of things where guys just, I'm glad the test came this right now because you want these guys to get tougher. They need to get mentally tougher on the offensive side of the ball. And, but on a positive note, Dylan Johnson, guys like Cuevas, guys like Culp, really stepped up. You had screen passes, out routes to Rome, to Will Nixon, and those guys answered the call. I just thought I thought that those guys stepped up when they needed to, and that's why you saw, despite no touchdowns for Mike, you still saw 350 plus yards from him. So yeah. That's essentially how I feel, man. I thought the skill position guys stepped up, and there were some misnomers due to some mental weaknesses from the offense side.
Do you think that it showed all those people that were saying we're one-dimensional that we're really not one-dimensional?
You were spot on. That's a great call. We got to see Dylan Johnson show out, man. It's time. I think we all knew, right? We all knew. We saw these guys, this guy's stat line coming out of the SEC, and we're like, he can do more than that in Pac-12 play. Dylan Johnson, I don't know if this is like really well known, but to begin the year, he was not 100%. This might have been he may not have even been 100% for this game, and not like everybody. He was coming off a leg injury that he had some work done on over the offseason. So we got to see him show out. We showed with him and Nixon getting shot out of the backfield that we are certainly not a one-dimensional team. And if you want to play that brand of football and you want to drop 7-8 guys back into cloud coverage, go for it. You want to bracket us on the outside and just three safeties over the top, like go for it, man. Penix still has the ability to find a play within those cloud coverages, and like you said, we played a balanced game and showed that we're not one-dimensional, 100%.
And also we're a couple drop passes away from him having a couple touchdowns anyway. So yeah. I think it's big to show that we're not one-dimensional. Noah, when you were looking at the defense, I tweeted this when we were actually I put this in the Discord when the game was happening. By the way, make sure you join the Discord. Link is in the bio. But did the defense seem to bend a little bit more than you'd like? If you were gonna critique the defense, what were some of the things that really stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the penalties hurt us. Getting a couple PI calls. If you remember too, we had actually another pick. Thaddeus Dixon had a pick that I think everyone thought it was, oh, pick, we're going the other way,
sure.
and we dropped that as he hit the ground. I mean, our defense, I wouldn't say they played terrible. I just thought that there's a couple little things that we just need to get better on. If we can just get home with our defensive ends, if we can just get off on third down. And I think looking at the numbers, Izzo, you might have this number. I mean, I think our third down efficiency on defense, I think Arizona was only like 4 of 10 or
4 of 13.
4 of 13. Yeah. I mean, so we got them off the field on third down. I think they were 3 of 4 on fourth down.
Right.
They had a couple short, fourth downs, but I just think there's a couple we just got to make that, like, finish the play, get home. And, here's something kind of interesting too. That Noah Fafita kid, there's 4 kids off his Servite team, and you can see that the relationship that he has with McMillan. And I mean, and obviously with Cowing as well. I mean, dude, that Fafita kid can play a little bit, and he is slippery. That's the best way I can kind of say. He's small, he's slippery, he's kind of a dual threat, but I mean, dude, he's a heady player. And dude, I think the best way to put it for me is if we just can kind of get that final finish, I think our defense is going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think the kid Fafita showed that he's got a lot of guts. And I think that Arizona team is a lot tougher than people are giving them credit for. I mean, their only loss besides this one was a overtime game against Mississippi State. And if I'm thinking correctly, it was in Mississippi, right? I believe the game was in Mississippi.
Yep, I think you're right. And I mean, if the people that really watched that game were covering that game, I mean, everybody said, dude, Arizona should have won that game. And so, I think you bring up a good point. They did a nice job in the portal. They brought in some talent. Dude, they're not a bad team. And I promise you, there's going to be a team or two that goes into the desert this year, and they'll get upset by Arizona. Dude, they got a lot of talent on the outside. They're a tough team. And you know what? I give them a lot of credit for hanging around. That was impressive, man.
Yep.
Yeah, Fafita, man, he reminds me of like a pseudo Kyler Murray, like an inexperienced, brand of Kyler Murray in the way that he's really able to bounce outside of the pocket. And I was saying this before, we were talking about getting the edge guys home. Man, they're like towards the fourth quarter, towards the end of this game, those guys are gassed, man. We're chasing that kid around all day. There was a lot of rotation. Somebody in the Discord asked, did I see Milton Hopkins out there? And he's 2-3 deep on the edge. And yes, you did. At the end of the game, you certainly did. And that's because Trice and ZTF and the guys in the middle, they're getting tired towards the end of that game. You saw what looked like maybe some MJ Ale and guys getting pulled off to the sideline, a lot of rotation, and that has to do with Fafita and his ability to extend plays.
That was actually one of my biggest critiques was on that last drive, the one where they were going in to score. The guys were gassed. They had just gotten out of bounds, and instead of the defense taking a timeout to take a breather, they kept the guys on the field, and they ended up scoring on the next play. When I was like, if you could take a timeout, give these guys a breather, and let them come at them full bore. But I agree. I think Fafita is very slippery. I think that word is a great way to put it. And then when I watched the film, what I noticed was he was getting the ball off before that 3rd second all the time. So even if the guys were trying to get in, they didn't have the time to get to him. And that's hard to do when you're a young player like that.
And that's coaching too. That was the other thing I was going to say with Jed Fish and his staff. Dude, they did a nice job preparing their team for this week. Like I said, I was never that nervous going in. I was never nervous during the game. But, I mean, at the end result, 31-24, I mean, they know Fafita. He doesn't have a monster arm. He doesn't got Stafford. He's not Josh Allen. He doesn't have these big arms. But, dude, he can win in the Pac-12, and they're going to go to the Big 12. And, dude, he can win ball games. And you hit the nail on the head, Mike. They got the ball out quick. We were playing our coverage, and he kind of put it all over the field. Uses his tight ends well. So I'm not going to crown Fafita to be Kyler Murray Heisman, but I mean, dude, he's a tough player, man.
Yes, agree. All right, let's kind of highlight our standout players from the games. Let's start with offense. Um, Izzo, who do you think really stood out to you on the offensive side of the ball? Who would get your game ball, so to speak?
There's a few guys. I think you got to give one to Dylan Johnson, right? Like he not only did it through the on the ground, but he did it through the air.
Oh yeah,
And he showed out and he got his 2 touchdowns in the game. I think that one's an obvious one. I'll go with a less obvious one. Well, actually, this isn't less obvious from the season long stat sheet, but not so less obvious during the game because of some of the massive plays he had. But Devin Colt, and I shout out to Mama Culp. She's awesome. There's a rotation of guys there. Westy, Cuevas, and him that are really kind of the main three. But that catch on the deep sideline there, that was insane. Like he went up and got a ball that should have not been caught. Perfect route. He got you didn't have the safety over the top, so Mike was able to see that there's an opening in this cloud coverage and zone, and he hits him, and Culp shows up again. There was some drops early on in his career and some drops that maybe hindered his playing time a little bit, but he showed some strong hands, some resilience, and showed up in big spots. And I'm gonna give a shout out to him for sure.
All right, Noah, what about you on the offensive side?
Yeah, I mean, Dylan Johnson, man, kind of had his coming out party. Love to see it. I mean, we heard all the buzz when we got him from Mississippi State, and I mean, he's everything we were looking for. But I'll say this, and people might be kind of like, wait a minute, what? But dude, Mike Penix, man, he needs a game ball too, and because dude, he 30 of 40, 363. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but you know what he did? He said, "Hey, this ain't always about me throwing touchdowns, it's about me scoring. Dude, I'm trying to win. It don't matter. It don't matter just about my statistics. We want to win. We're 5-0." So he knew that going in during the game probably had some change ups, and they said, "Man, it's wide open to run the rock. Hey, we're gonna have to dump these passes off. Check down Charlie." But man, so I'm gonna give it to Mike Penix too, man. He's a team player, even though he's a Heisman candidate, and so
he
Mike
took what was
Penix as
given to
well.
him. He really took what was given to him, and that says a lot because when you're used to these big plays, you start getting greedy, and that's when mistakes happen. And he didn't do that at all. He even took a couple. He even took a couple sacks.
Noah and I were talking about this as we were discussing prepping for the podcast today, and we were talking about, man, we want to give Jeremy Bernard one. If he doesn't have that fumble on the 4, you're probably saying he is the guy that you would highlight for this outside of Dylan Johnson for sure. But that's just brutal because you were going to go up by 21 in the fourth quarter. Dude, they gave him the ball on the ground. They're trying to find him ways. It's like they had heard from Noah calling him Debo last week, and we're by the Debo, and that catch that we were talking about where Mike just wound up and fired a seed right to him on the left side. It was only like an 8-yard completion. It was going to be for a first down, but there were 3 dudes swarming on Jeremy, and he shook the first guy. Made another guy miss. A couple dudes run into each other, and he's breaking up the sideline. Man, we've called him the Yak King. He looked like a Yak King, and if you get rid of that fumble in the 4, we're talking a lot more about Jeremy in this game.
Definitely, he's a bona fide player. That fumble did hurt, but he's going to get my game ball just because he came in, and with Jalen McMillan out, he led the team in receiving. I believe it was 8 for 98, and then he had the rushing touchdown to go with it. He should have had he shouldn't have dropped that pass, and he shouldn't have fumbled on the close to the goal line. But for a young kid stepping into the role, he shows that if they take Rome away, we have other guys that can play. Now let's switch over to the defensive side. Noah, what did you think? Who really got your game ball on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, he had a Jabbar Muhammad. He had that tough PI in the end zone, but dude, he had another legit showing, man, and he's showing everybody in America that he really is a lockdown corner. This is he gave up 13 total receiving yards. He's giving up 8.6 yards a game. I mean, if that don't scream lockdown, I don't know what does. And having that ability, on one side of the field, I mean, dude, it takes a lot of pressure off Chuck Morrell and Inge. And then my other one is, and I don't want to take Izzo's thunder because Izzo called MJ Ollie a pop player this year. But man, if you want to see like just textbook interior defensive line play, go watch MJ Ollie. I think it's like the first or second drive. Dude, he literally bench presses the right guard. I'm sorry, the left guard. Bench presses the left guard. Shucks shed. Dude makes a tackle for loss. I mean, just punk that dude. And it's like, dude, I was actually at a hotel in Bellingham watching the game, and I'm screaming. The little old lady behind me is going like, "What? What's going on? What are we doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry, MJ Hall is just making a TFL out here. Don't worry." But man, it's just, I mean, he's slowly but surely. We've talked about this. He's slowly but surely turning into like a legitimate like starter on our defense, and it's really really exciting to see.
Especially when he's next to Thule, because him and Thule, they are great at clogging up the middle. When Thule went out, you noticed the difference. It was very very noticeable. Izzo, what about you? Who gets your game ball on the defensive side?
I called him out last week. I'm going to call him out again. Dom Hampton, man, he is. First of all, the swagger when he made that tackle and he stood over the guy, I was like, please don't. It's just Jimmy getting furious at Dom during that one play a couple years ago. And he's a game wrecker. And one thing that we should recognize is that you would expect your top tackler on the team to be a linebacker. Traditionally, that's who it is. And tackles are a home stat because it really is dictated by the offensive game plan that's coming against you. And the reason why Dom Hampton is getting so much play is because he's playing up in the box. So he's kind of a pseudo linebacker in that way. And then also the Huskies are up by 14, 70% of the time. So teams are passing. And he has been, along with Mish Powell, they've been sure tacklers and guys who you have to worry about when you're crossing the middle. Dom is just absolute dude who can knock your helmet off. And what is it, Noah? A remember me type hitter.
That's right.
He puts
showing up with bad intentions, I believe is what you guys said.
Yeah, I mean, one of our 6'6" frames crossing the middle, he would break me, bro.
Well, and you know what? And you saw it, like that play on the sideline where he hit the dude and broke up. The guy got alligator arms because he could hear him coming, and that would have been a first down if he catches that. I believe it was not Cowan. It was McMillan.
Yeah, it was McMillan, and yeah, he heard footsteps. I'd be freaked out.
Well, because Dom will take your head off. He'll take the penalty, and he knows that the intimidation is worth it.
Oh, absolutely,
dude. After Dom hit him, if you actually go watch that film, McMillan, he kind of struggled the rest of the game, and he had alligator arms the rest of the game too. And you could see, I don't know if he was kind of holding his like his rib area, but man, he got lit up, and dude, and Dom didn't take him out of the game, but definitely mentally took him out of the game. He didn't want any more of that action.
Yeah, McMillan actually hurt his arm. I saw he had slipped or fell, and he tried to put his arm down to brace himself, and then you saw him for like the next series or two grabbing at his, like it was like his forearm type area. But I think he had already been hit a bunch by that secondary, and I think he definitely had alligator arms, especially on that play down the sideline.
Yeah, those guys were too because they were having to pass to get back in the game, so the receivers are getting gassed towards the end of the game as well. There's one more guy I want to highlight. We would, it wouldn't be good if we didn't. Vince Nunley, man, had a game, 6 tackles, his first pick. He looked great, man. And I think we called out last week. We called out Esteen as who we thought would step up into that role. I want to do a little take back. I think the coaches obviously are seeing it. They trust Nunley out there. I think he's got to be that guy, and he had a breakout game and graded out. I think he graded out. I know it's just faux pas to bring up PFF, but I think he graded out as their top safety performance in Week 5 in the country. And
I know he was the top graded player on our defense from PFF this week.
Yeah. And so it makes you think, because I was a little underwhelmed by Cam Fab in this game. I think there were some coverage, things that happened in the end zone with him, and some kind of just head scratching penalties. It was the off camera, and he got flagged. Mish had a tackle for loss on a 3rd and 3 in the third quarter that he was really excited about, and off camera there was a 15-yard penalty on Cam Fab that negated that and gave him first down. So that's another kind of just I don't know, but I bring that up because I wonder, man, can you put Asa when he comes back out there with Vince Nunley? Because in my view, at this point, Nunley's played to a point where you're going to have a hard time pulling him off the field. So do you do a Nunley Asa mix next week? But I know the staff trusts Cam Fab. He might have had an off game. Again, this was in the desert. It's a weird game. These receivers are NFL receivers at Arizona, Cowing and McMillan. And so you give them a little bit of a pass there, but we can't have those mistakes against a team like Oregon. You need to be playing your A-plus game in the secondary against that team. They've got too many threats to contend with on the offensive side of the ball. So, but yeah, shout out Vince Nunley, man. He had a great game.
I agree. I think Nunley looked really good, and I agree with the Cam Fab criticism because he had a rough game. It was the first time all year where he looked like he had a real rough game. Like we saw the good. We highlighted what was good with the game. Let's talk about where can we improve, because Oregon isn't Arizona. Oregon is playing really, really good football right now. I hate to say it, but they are, and they're pissed. We went down to Eugene and took a dump in their front lawn last year. Now they want to come up and return the favor. Where are areas where you think we really can improve? And no, I already know you want to jump in on this one, so let me know.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it, right off the jump, but I would really just love to see our edges, get home. Whether that be pressures, whether that be a couple more sacks. I know we kind of got a little bit, last year's season with Trice was like, I think he had like a 29% like win rate, against the offensive line. And I mean, he had 70 pressures last year. So it was like, I think we were just like, well, we're going to see that again. But those numbers are just ungodly numbers. Him having 13 pressures this year, it's just not on the pace it was last year. And that, them, ZTF and him only having 3 sacks. I just want to see a little bit more pressure. And I don't know if we need to scheme that more because, man, ZTF is getting double teamed. He's having the tight end come over, and so is Trice. So if we can just get home a little bit more, that's kind of my thing is where can we improve? Get home. And the other one for me is penalties. We had 12 penalties, 125 yards. I think we've had 33 penalties in the last 3 games. That's over 10 penalties a game.
Can't have
acceptable.
Can't have it, man. It just can't. It ruins drives on offense. It gives when you're on defense, it gives the offense, it keeps them on the field. And you just can't have it. We just need more disciplined. And guys like Eddie, come on, man. You can't have
late hit,
late hit penalty. I mean, you just can't do it. You're a leader. You're the leader on our defense. You just can't have it. So, those are for me the 2 places I really want to see more pressure on the quarterback and clean up the penalties. And you know what? We're going to the bye week, and this is how to do it right here.
Go ahead, Mike.
Real quick, yeah, because I want to talk about the edge play real quick, just because besides ZCF and Trice, I don't feel like we're getting anything from anybody else right now. I've seen Himes play a lot. I've seen Holtzclaw play a lot. We saw Hopkins play, and I'm not seeing a lot from any of the other edges. It's like we're completely relying on these 2 guys, and I want to see somebody that is younger, that is behind them, step up to plays.
Yeah, I think you're
right,
the guy who I think I'm looking for, and I assume others are looking to see, this guy step into that third person who can get pressure off of the edge is Sakai. And I think that's who you're gonna have to look toward for this, or Voy. I know Voy got some reward from the staff or from the coaches. I think after the previous game before this one, but I was going to push back a little bit on the statistical eye test from the edges. And the reason is, and I'm not going to forgive what the edge plays looked like to this point, because I agree. Bottom line is, if you're going to win games in the Pac-12, you have to pressure the quarterback. So there's just like you have to figure it out. I will play a devil's advocate for a moment, just because statistically, just like Penix, a lot of the games that are blown out, we're pulling ZTF and Trice out of the game. And so I think that's kind of jading things a little bit. I think you're seeing ZTF and Trice grade out, like decently well. But in this game, for instance, I'm going to be a little bit more forgiving, because they really were called upon completely to be the ones who were pressuring the quarterback, and that game was friggin' tiring. And it's not going to be every game that you're chasing around a 5'9", 5'10", 4'5" guy who is going to extend plays and everything like that, and also do a two-step drop and then pass the ball immediately on the first read. So I'm willing to forgive them a little bit on this, but to your guys' point, it has to happen. Like, it has to come from somewhere. And so where you would hope it from the edge is Sakai, but Eddie also, I noticed, got shut down pretty well in this game. And I think their offensive line looked pretty good, but it has to happen from somewhere. So you got to mix things up, because if you've only got 3 threats to worry about, and one is a linebacker and 2 of them are on the outside, you just double the outside. And so, we've got to figure that out somehow. So I agree for the most part. I just think the stats don't indicate truly how much pressure Trice is putting on guys. And so, we'll see how it comes to fruition. Plus, you've got all the holds that people are, obviously pointing out. So,
one thing that's kind of interesting is, so, I am being a little bit, hard. I mean, I played the position, so it's like, I know what I'm looking for to expect. I will say this, and bad's not the right words, but as bad as we're playing on the edge, which it would not bad, but it's just the way we are playing, we still have 5 guys that have higher win percentages than the top guy at Oregon, which is very interesting. Yeah, I mean,
wait. Hey, so sometimes you got to dunk on a duck, bro. That's just
it's kind of mind blowing to me. I mean, it's like, we're asking these guys to do more and more and more, but we actually got 5 guys that are higher than their top guy. So that's something to be a little bit of a little bonus.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you this too. When you're specifically, I was thinking about the secondary in Elijah Jackson. He had some really rough reps, but I appreciated him sticking his nose in and coming and making some plays. But I've been noticing this with Jackson in general, is that his instincts seem to be lacking just a little bit. Like that, the touchdown pass that they caught on him, or both of them. There was actually 2 touchdown passes that were caught on him. But the one where they were on the goal line, he got caught looking in the backfield, and you can see it. When the guy makes the first move, he goes flat-footed and then looks straight up, and then the guy breaks out and he has no way of getting him. What do we have to do with that other corner position? And do you think we're going to just see more Thaddeus Dixon? What do we have to do? Because he has definitely been a guy that's gotten hit up a few times, and I feel like, especially against Oregon, they're going to look that way.
I will say that I was encouraged by the progression, because to this point, him and Elijah Jackson and Thaddeus kind of were progressing a little bit slowly. And I think that this game, maybe in coverage, it was like one guy did one thing very well and the other guy did the other thing very well. I thought Thaddeus Dixon had some great coverage plays in this game. Yep. And I thought that EJ tackled very well and was a sure tackler. And so obviously you've got one guy doing one thing really well and the other guy not doing the other thing really well. And so you've got to see, you just hope that throughout the year that, one of them steps up on other side of that equation.
Dude, that Swizz route by McMillan, we talked about this earlier. We call that a Swizz route. It's it's kind of where you open up to the quarterback and run to the sideline. But dude, that was an NFL, bar none, NFL route. I mean, just absolutely. That was a dude, that'll put anybody in a grinder, dude. That is a tough route to defend. And I mean, dude, you just kind of like, I think honestly, you look at Elijah Jackson on that, and I think you really just look over at Tetra McMillan and go, tip your cap and go, you got me, bro. You know,
seeing the league for both those dudes, Cowing and him. So
yeah, 100%.
so you know, sometimes like I think we talked about this is like, hey, if you're Arizona, this is the way you're going to attack. You're going to try to take either Cowing or McMillan and exploit the rotational guys, and that's exactly what happened on some of those plays. So all in all, I was more encouraged than I was like downtrodden from it, because I do see them getting a little bit better, you know, as the season progresses. So,
dude, I think Chuck Morrell said that Elijah Jackson is the most improved player on defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I appreciate that he doesn't give up. He sticks his nose in there every time and wants to. He seems like he got a little Mish Powell in him. You know what I'm saying? He keeps trying. He keeps coming back and fighting. Where do you see we can improve on the offensive side of the board? Now, the reason that I bring this up is that when I was rewatching the game, specifically in pass protection, I noticed Nate Kalepo, who, man, he's from the South End where I live. And I got a lot of love for the Reindeer Beach Boys, but he had some tough reps. He had some really good reps on the running game. He looked great, but he had a couple tough reps because I know they have that transfer defensive tackle from Georgia. Where do you guys think we can improve on the offensive side of the ball? And I'm like I said, the offensive line was the first place I was looking at. I saw they had a couple little struggles that I hadn't seen all year up until this point. 2 sacks.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I would say, especially with Kalepo, is on some passing downs he gets off balance. His feet kind of get you know, a little bit, you know, I would call like a little bit crossed up, and he just needs to set better. His initial step when he sets in pass pro, that just needs to be better, and he like leans a little forward. So if a D lineman kind of puts a move on him, he has a hard time kind of coming back to where he's supposed to be. So that's the biggest thing, is just set your feet in balance, and I think he should be fine. I mean, and dude, Mike, you hit the nail on the head, man. Dude, he's becoming an absolute mauler in the run game. Dude, if he can just tweak a couple things, and once again, I'll say it once, I'll say it probably 5 more times. We're going into the bye week. We'll be diving into that film, and man, I really think Scott Huff will be able to just fix some of those small little intricacies that we saw him struggling with this week.
Yeah. So what would you change? What would you see? Where would you want to see improvement on the offensive side?
Man, I'll be honest with you, there's not a lot. I was truly impressed by the way that, and like Noah had said, that we had to change the scheme entirely because they were dropping guys back so far into coverage, and we had to be check down Charlie in this game, and Penix accepted that. You know, the only thing that sticks out to me is that in the 2 fumbles that happened, you know, I'm willing to give Westy the kind of like, hey, that's, you know, I'm not going to harp on you too hard for that one, because he got straight cracked coming over the middle on that ball.
He did.
He fumbled, and luckily, and it was a 50-50 ball. Luckily, the call on the field was that thing went out of bounds, or that we recovered it. But
shout out to Will Nixon.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no kidding. That was a heads up play by Will to just get after it. And that's the type of player he is. So, but let's protect the football, because again, we can't do that. We can't have a Mike Penix end zone interception, you know, that happened against Oregon last year in their house. We have to limit those mistakes, and you know, Jeremy, you know, God bless him, he's young and he was just trying to fight for the end zone.
Like every play.
But you got to get out. You got to know you've been holding the ball in that corner for 3 seconds now, trying to juke your way into the end zone. There's about to be, you know, Justin Flo coming and trying to eat.
Cover up.
Cover the football or get out of bounds. It's 4 yards to go. You know, we might hand the ball off to you on the next play anyways. So, you know, where I want to see it from this game is we got to protect the football. Don't fumble, man. Don't fumble. We're too good for this.
I agree. And I think the thing that is actually encouraging is that these aren't things that are like, hey, they did this to us. These are things that we did to ourselves. and that can be fixed. That can be improved. And it's not like we're facing somebody and we just couldn't do nothing. We didn't have an answer. We had answers. We just, like I said, we weren't as mentally sharp in the desert, because I feel like the heat does something to us than we were the last 3 games before it, or 4 games before it. So before we move on to the next segment, Dubdup Podcast is brought to you by Auto Presents. Also, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, comment buttons. It's kind of what keeps us going. The Discord is huge, you guys. Like I said, all the information going into this Oregon game is going to be in the Discord. The VIP is only $8 a month, so you got to make sure you get in that. So you guys ready to jump into, we're not going to do our deep dive into Oregon yet, but because Oregon is next and we have a bye week, let's preview what's going to happen with this Oregon game. I mean, 2 5-0 teams, 2 top 10 ranked teams coming into Seattle. Game day is going to be there. This is a huge week for Husky football, and we got to be pumped. Fellas, where do you guys want to start? You guys tell me.
So the first thing, man, this feels like a week. So a 1-loss team can still make it into the Pac-12 championship, right? But this, for an October game, this feels like the championship. I mean, obviously, there's so much on the line. We can talk for days about the rivalry. Noah and I can talk about how we were on Spaces last year, 2:00 in the morning, getting dunked on by Oregon fans who told us we have a chance in hell with Michael Penix and that he was a Jag, and that, you know, we just have the star power. There was too much of a talent differential for us to compete in the game. And then we go into their house and we smack them. And, you know, Oregon's going to want to win this game really, really bad. And for obvious reasons, the season's on the line, but talking rights are on the line. And, you got to know that every Twitter head that's been talking crap, myself included, we're going to be wrapped up we're just going to be nervous about kickoff, man. Like I'm going to act confident. I'm going to speak confidently to people, but it's going to be nerve wracking as we head into that game. Yeah. What are your thoughts now? So many things to say.
12:30 kick.
Yep. Yeah, I know the 12:30 kickoff hasn't been announced yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a 12:30 kickoff. Like, I know game day hasn't been announced yet, but man, there's so many indicators game day is going to be here, man. Kirk and Herbie. I'm sorry, Reese and Herbie will be here, man. It's gonna be live, man. And we talked about it, man. This game's bigger than just, the I-5, corridor, dude. Bro, this is the blood game, man. I mean, this is war, and yep. I mean, this is what it's all about. This is college football. We're all going to the NIL, big money, all this stuff. But dude, this is like, you kick your brother out of the house, your wife out of the house. Like, this is the dogs versus the ducks. And man, this is for all the marbles, at least for 365 days, at least, And man, this is a rivalry that it runs deep, and I'm excited, man. This is what it's all about. October 14th is going to be lit. I told you guys. I told you.
Well, I think that's
as 10. We need to name this game. And maybe, like, we need to put some serious thought into this thing. Like, yeah. This is the stage where I really truly believe that with game day being here, that the Oregon-Washington rivalry with a spotlight on it is going to become I don't want to say the biggest rivalry in college football right now, but it's damn near that, man. Yep. Like, I know we don't have the history Ohio State and Michigan do, but in terms of just fan bases that absolutely hate each other and constantly talk crap to each other, gotta be up there, man.
Well, it's a very unique rivalry, because the first 100 years we were beating them up, and then then 20 years after that they were beating us up, and then the last 7-8 years it's been split right down the middle. I think the last 7 years we're 3-3 against the Ducks.
Yeah, one-score game.
Well, and I think that all builds into that rivalry, is that hate is there because of the just disparity between the two programs for so long, and now they're at the same level. Now they're both competing on that high level for national championships. The national media is talking about both, like, hey, what's going on? And I mean, you've seen the Ducks, and they have their Heisman Trophy candidate. We have ours. I think we got a little bit more taste in how we're promoting him, but that's my. I'm not bodacious.
Just wait until they start this campaign.
But I mean, what do you guys think really stokes this rivalry? What do you think really makes it burn so hot?
I mean, I think for an Oregon fan, it's just been they could never get over the hump with UW. You know, I think you said it, Mike. I mean, we beat them for so long. But for a UW fan, they really rose to the upper lore of college football very rapidly. And, you know, they would say, well, it's because we win and we win and we win. And I think a lot of us would say, man, you kind of had that rapid growth, but you really haven't really won anything. And
yeah, they haven't.
Yeah. Go ahead, Izzo.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I just want to we know what it is. There's no it's not to interrupt you, Noah, here, but this is something I've talked about before. There aren't many college football programs that go from being irrelevant entirely to where national recruits cannot name where Eugene is on a map, cannot point it out on a map, to all of a sudden being a juggernaut in the college football space, in the media attention, when they're not near a major metro and their program isn't rooted with a ton of tradition. And so it's a wonder why all of a sudden they came onto the map. And that's why for me to despise that, because it's like, man, we had to do it through, you know, the shoveling, like going through the dirt, hiring a good coach, finding Don James, having him bolster up the program, getting being the type of program that Coach Chris Peterson wants to come to. Like, we have to do all these things versus you got a daddy who's paying for things to make 100% sure that you guys are contenders. And I personally, I just don't respect that. I hate them.
I feel like you should have put the glasses on. That was kind of a hot take, man. that was kind of a hot take. You know, I'll tell you what. As a Husky fan, what bothers me is I've never seen a fan base so excited and so gung-ho about almost winning one time or two times. Like they hold that over your head like, hey, we did this. It's like, now you almost did this, but you didn't do it. And then they're like, well, you got a half a natty. I go, it can be a half natty, quarter natty, eighth natty. It's more of a natty than you have. I don't care what you got to say. And I think that I think that's what the arrogance that comes with it, because the arrogance that comes with money is that. I mean, they got 100 different jersey combinations. Congratulations. I'll take the national championship. I'll take the half a national championship, whatever you want to say. It's the truth. Is it? Am I?
No, dude. No, not at all. I mean, dude, there's a difference between the glitz and the glamour and the grind. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, Izzo hit the nail on the head, man. Grinding to build your program up for years, decades, generations, kids. I mean, dude, it's tough to get to that plateau and to like buy your way to the plateau. I think that's why you see a lot of like really old heads in like college football. I mean, dude, no one here is saying Oregon's not good. Dude, they're really freaking good. Yep. But to get to where they are, there's a little bit of grind that earns respect. And when the glitz and the glamour gets you there, you just don't have the same respect. And for me, dude, you can throw out new jerseys every week, man, and they're cool. Dude, those new jerseys, those throwbacks they just put out, those things are pretty filthy. But you know what, man? On October 14th, when you guys come on Montlake, we gonna be ready. We are gonna be ready. And that Husky Stadium is gonna be 74,000, like I said. That place is gonna be rocking, man. And it's gonna be fun.
We said that transfers that came from some SEC schools, I don't care. This is going to be the loudest game that any player on the field has ever been a part of. There's no doubt about it.
Well, also, if you're an Oregon fan, don't you get annoyed with every time they mention your football team, they got to mention Uncle Phil and Nike? Like with UW, we don't have that. They can talk about Don James, they can talk about Chris Peterson or Rick Neuheisel, but there's nothing that they're saying, oh, this is the reason why you did it. Just like you said, we shoveled our way to it, and we were good for a long, long time before that little 10-year dark age. But you know what? We've we've had our fun with them, guys. Let's get into the game just a little bit. And I feel like the Arizona game kind of showed people, hey, this offense, I don't want to say it can really be slowed down, but it's slower than it was the first 4 weeks by the way they played. What do you think Oregon does schematically to try to slow down this offense? Noah, how about you grab this one? I know you're the defensive guy.
Yeah, from a defensive side, I mean, I think they know that allowing Mike Penix to take the top off the defense, I mean, they're going to do everything they can to slow that down. Now, I don't think they'll run the 7 DB set because I think they actually have the athletes, especially their linebackers. Jeffrey Bossa, in my opinion, is the best player on that defense. There's no way they're taking him off the field to bring in some third string DB just to not allow us to take the top off. Dude, they can exchange blows with us, and I think they will. But dude, they'll do some sort of shell, some sort of zone. I don't think they don't have the horses to run man to man with us. So I think you'll see some sort of cloud coverage. And I think what they'll do is I think in our preview we talked about, like, if I was a defensive coordinator for a day, what would I do? I think you'll see Oregon they're going to bring some pressure. They're going to try to get to Mike Penix, get him off his spot. So that's the scheme. I think they'll have some sort of cloud on the back end with pressure up front with some blitz packages. Easiest way to put it.
What do you think, Izzo?
Man, that was perfect, Noah, to be honest.
Our defensive guru.
I have almost nothing to add to that. Here's what I could see happening if they tried to go that route, because I think what we saw, what Arizona did, was an effective way to throw us off the loop. I think that they may try to commit to one part, like one aspect of running a defense the way that Noah has put it. And then you might see them adjust to maybe take a linebacker off the field and drop into 7. I think that they might try that. And what I want to see is them get caught in mixing it up, because I think what we can exploit is Dan Lanning and Tosh Lapoy trying to out scheme Ryan Grubb in the middle of a football game. I think recipe for Oregon. So on defense, man, I'll just say that. I'll end with that. I think what you said was about perfect. But what I would like to see is them kind of try to make adjustments mid game and try to do that against Grubb, because we'll see if he can pull that off.
And if we can run the ball, then we can catch them with their pants down. Like if we can run the ball like we have been, and they have that extra DB, I'll take Kalepo or Hatchet, whoever's playing guard, on a DB all day to open up a hole. So let's get into some of the player matchups too that we're going to see. What is the one that you're the most interested in seeing? I guess, Izzo, you just want to Noah, what do you think?
Man, this one hits home, dude. You said you love them Beach Boys, Mike. I can't wait to see Braylon Trice and Josh Connolly Jr. go up. Dude, that
one hurt when he left.
I mean, it did, but he's a Duck now. He made his choice. And Braylon Trice about to get up in that. I'm excited to see a 22-year-old go up against a 19, 20-year-old.
Yeah,
we're gonna see Trice. Dude, he's been in that weight room, and dude, Connolly's been playing well. But dude, I want to see Braylon Trice bench press Josh Connolly a couple times. The other one I'm really,
because doesn't Connolly play on the inside? Isn't he playing guard right now?
No, he's their starting left tackle.
Oh, I thought I saw him. I was watching the game. I swear to God, I thought I saw him playing interior, because I know he is a tackle by trade. But when I was watching the game, maybe I just saw something where they had an extra guy on the line.
Yep, I want to see that. And the other one I'm excited to see, just because dude, Troy Franklin can play, man. He's a good receiver. He should have been a dog. But I want to see Troy Franklin versus Jabbar Muhammad too. I know Troy. I don't think UW. This is actually something we should look into. I don't think we don't follow receivers really, but when those guys are lined up across from each other, I'm excited to see Troy Franklin versus Jabbar. So
okay, Izzo.
I want to see what I want to see is MJ Ole versus the offensive line, because I caught some flack, and this is why Noah and I bring it up all the time, is I caught some flack about the depth last year on our interior defensive line, and maybe rightfully so to a degree. But now that we've got the linebackers to contend against that rushing game, or at least put up a fight against that running attack, because they're a stud running back room. There's no doubt about that. You cannot get that from Oregon at all. What I was encouraged by was against Arizona, they were at 3.5 yards an attempt. They got 110 yards on the ground, but it was on 31 carries. And that is indicative of the linebacker play and the interior defensive line. And that is in Arizona, where it is hot and it's getting late, and there was a lot of chasing around on the field, and those guys were tired. It gave me some positive vibes about how this game is going to go, assuming that they're going to try to, establish the run game for sure early. And so I want to see our front seven against that offensive line. And so that's one of them. The other one is obvious, and that is Bo Nix versus Mike Penix. This is a Heisman showdown, man. So we got to be able to, I've done enough talking about the faux Bo Nix campaign of them putting billboards up, of them, hiring people to go to game day, and the cringe of the tweet that came out last week of this woman who was wearing black and pink, and she's trying to hire people to hold signs for her to Bo Nix on College game day. That was just hilarious. And yeah, I want to see Nix, I want to see Penix, I want to see that showdown and them go at it.
Yeah, I think one of the things I want to really see is I want to see how those Oregon defensive backs hold up with our receivers, and hopefully J-Mac is back. But that's where I feel like they've been a little bit soft, and that's where they're a little susceptible, is in the secondary. And so I'm hoping to see – I want to see Ryan Grubb take advantage of that.
Yes.
So, hey, just so everybody knows, in our Discord, which link is in the bio, we take questions. And if you have any questions on any matchups you guys want to see for this game coming up, because we're going to have a whole episode devoted to this game next week during the bye week, make sure you hit it in the Discord. Ask the question. We'll definitely take it down, and we'll answer it here on the podcast. So anything else you guys want to get into with Oregon before we switch to the Discord questions?
No, I mean, it can't be understated the impact this game has on the trajectory of the entire Pac-12. And there is just no doubt that this is going to be the biggest game of the conference slate for the rest of the year. And it's crazy that it's happening October 14th. The bye week for both teams is so important. We've got some injuries to deal with, and ones that are impactful. So we got to get right. We got to get healthy, but we can't take this week off. It's got to be nonstop grinding. It's work time. You just have to do 2 weeks of work for the same team. No days off.
Agreed. Noah, you got anything else about Oregon before we move on to the Discord questions?
No, man. Nope. This is this is what it's all about. Like I said,
you're saving it for next week. I know. You got some good ones coming next week. All right, let's jump into the Discord questions. Like I said, the dubdup Discord is where all the great information from dubdup originates and starts. So make sure you hit that link in the bio and join the Discord. It's free, but if you will pay that $8 a month, you will learn things that I'm telling you nobody else knows, and you'll watch it play out. It's pretty cool. All right, first question from the Discord comes from VZoom N55. Is there a target number for the 2024 class? 2, 3, or 8 more? Izzo, I'm gonna go with you on this one.
Yeah, so it's going to depend upon the players because I think right now with the class, and I'll leave a little nugget here. There could be something that's coming down the pipe here. We've talked a little bit about that in VIP rumors, so little shameless plug again. You might be able to figure out who we're talking about here. But there's one potentially on the horizon here, hint, hint. And then there's 2 or 3 others that are takes no matter what. There's no set number as we go into this moving forward. If the right guys want to come in and play for UW, then in the high school ranks, we'll take them. There's only a few. We're pretty much probably done adding names to the board. Okay. I would say if I had to put a guess on it, there's probably 2 more high school guys, and then we'll go the rest portal. One that, yeah.
So just to make sure that's clear, they have the guys that they want so far, but if there's like a big name, like somebody that is a huge 5-star guy,
Jason Brown, they want to come to Johnson, and then a couple of.
Okay. Noah, you got anything to add on that, or are you good?
No, I mean we've touched on this, man. I mean, the only thing I'll add is this: if we continue to have the season we're having, go beat Oregon, go play in the Pac-12 championship, I promise you, there will be some kids like there has been the last couple of years that will call Jamarcus Shepard, that will call Coach DeBoer and say, "Hey, I know I'm committed to X university, but I want to be a dog." And so when we get there, we'll approach it then.
Okay. Another one from VZoom N55. Can you spend a little time on our D-line approaching our D-line approach to containing dual threat quarterbacks, edges, spying, any of that? Noah, you're a defensive guy. What is our defensive line going to do, or are we going to scheme to take care of dual threats? Because Bo Nix is definitely a dual threat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in the room with Coach Schmidt and the D lineman, but I mean, I'll say it this way. Especially when you have a dual threat type quarterback like the question, it's all about keeping him inside, right? So you want your edges to contain, don't let him get outside, push him back into the middle because that's where all your help is, right? One of the part of the questions also was like spying. We didn't spy Noah Fafita at all in that game. We didn't have a spy at all. Now last year against Oregon, we did spy. If you remember, if you watch Alex Cook on that play where he actually what do they call it, submarine, and blew out his ankle, that was a spy play, and I think Eddie spied a little bit in that game as well. Mm-hmm. So I think you'll see that with a true dual threat type quarterback like Bo Nix. So it's coming. You'll see it next week. You'll see it in 2 weeks.
It's coming. Izzo, you got anything to add?
Nothing to add to that. Nailed.
All right. And then from, is it Deaver? D3 AVR. Okay, Deaver. I'd love to hear some discussion on why we're being officiated the way we are. Some of the holds we are called for on offense look either ticky. I'm assuming
just saying they're looking ticky tacky.
Yeah.
Izzo, you want to hit that, or you want me to
go? So here's my take on this. I agree. Deaver and I went back and forth a little bit on this and in the Discord we did, because I didn't want us to come into this and just be like, you know what, he's definitely getting held on everything. This is BS. I agree. I look at the Michigan State game. There were some definite holds. Like sometimes the Pac-12 reps, you're just like scratching your head. And, I was asking them, I was like, hey, can you guys give me a couple specific plays? Because I want to see it from this game. Because my hunch on this was that they were double teaming him, and he has been double teamed a lot of this time. So in terms of the lack of efficiency from Trice that we had talked about, a lot of it's the fact that he got pulled out of games early because we were up so big. He's getting double teamed. They're double teaming. Like, that's a part of it. I was asking him, hey, can you send me some examples? And one of the ones that was getting repeated was that he was held on his actual sack, and I think that was the obvious one. and it points out a couple things. One is that it may feel like he's getting held on every play, and we see the tweets and stuff like that. But you know, I don't think we're watching every single rep. I don't think it's possible to watch every single rep to say he's getting held every single time. I do think it's happening to him more frequently than others, and that it might not be getting called. But this stuff's going to shake out. Like, it's not going to be the whole season we're going to go and, you know, he's going to get held constantly and it's never going to get called. I think on that play against Arizona where he got the sack, it was like a quick face mask. Like, it should have been a 15-yard penalty, to be honest, because they grabbed Trice's face mask, but it was for a split second. The ref who would have called it, the judge who would have called it, was blinded by the body of the tackle who was holding him, who grabbed his face mask. And so I agree that it's happened a lot in the Michigan State game. It happened sometimes in this game that didn't get flagged. Do I think it's something that we need to focus on as a fan base and like really harp on and send an angry email? I think it's going to shake out, man. I don't think it needs to be, you know, like a massive adjustment to something that Trice is doing, or, you know, that type of thing.
Well, and also, I mean, Pac-12 officiating not being good is not anything new. You know, Noah, you want to touch in on that at all? Or
no, I'm good. I'm good.
Do you? Right. Let me ask you this. I know we talked about this and you agreed that, you know, it's really tough to watch every single rep of Trice, right? Are you aligned with that? Like, because it seems like within our fan base that might be an unpopular opinion and a hot take, and I might catch some heat for it, and that's cool. But like, do you see something differently than I do? Like, do you see all the holds happening with him?
So let me talk like just two types of like defensive ends or edges. Okay. So there's like your speed edges, and that's kind of what I would consider like ZTF to be, like more of your speed edge. Trice is more of your like all three downs defensive end. He's going to beat you a lot, like which I like to say, like a shuck in a shed, like a bull rush. He's not really going to beat you a lot with like speed to where like the tackle doesn't touch you. You know what I mean by that? Mm-hmm. So he creates a lot of contact, and he likes to get up in guys too, because I'm telling you, he is strong as an ox. And so you're kind of just going to see that, man. Those guys want to get their hands. They want to keep them on the inside. They don't want to get them out. They want to keep them on the inside. And so where I'm going with that is, dude, Trice creates a lot of contact, and that's probably why he gets held as much as he does. I think what you said, though, I think things are going to shake out. I wouldn't be surprised if Trice, some things pop. I would not be surprised if Coach DeBoer, Coach Huff probably go over to the pregame, go over to the referees and say, hey, man, can you really watch number 8, man? We've tracked this, and his first 5 games, we feel like he's getting held, a 22% clip or whatever it is, right? Dude, they're gonna they'll put a little buzz in the ear of the refs. I think it'll shake out. So my real answer is he creates a lot of contact, and it's just kind of inevitable.
Yeah. I think I see the same thing with ZTF and even Voy, to a point where I've been like, they're not calling this. I see Voy got hands all up in his neck and face.
I just wonder if that fan base bias thing sometimes, like where it might be a product of the fact that guys aren't getting home, and they're the type of edge rushers like Noah is saying, where they create contact, and it kind of is a little bit more of that than it is that he's getting held, and all 3 of these guys are getting held on every single play. I just think, I wonder.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to go talk about with the Discord before we move on to the next segment? We're good. All right. So we have a bye week, but that doesn't mean college football stops. So there's a lot of big games happening this week coming up. Some rivalry games. We have the Red River Shootout with Oklahoma and Texas happening this week. What are our takes? What do you guys feel about the games that, now that UW's not going to be playing this weekend, that we're going to be able to sit back and just watch? Let's start with the Oklahoma-Texas game, because it's a big game. Talk about number 12 versus number 3?
Dude, yeah, I mean, it's Quinn Ewers at Texas, Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma. You got a couple of our old, staffers on that Texas team with obviously you got Sark, Coach Kwiatkowski, Jeff Chiotti. I mean, dude, Texas got a little bit of UW in them, and It's going to be a good game. It's always played at the Cotton Bowl. It's fun. I love that you call it the Red River Shootout. I don't think you're supposed to do that anymore. But I love
Oh, really?
bang bang. Yeah, I think it's called the Red. What'd you call it, Izzo?
Red River Rivalry.
Yeah, that's just a bet. They come up. I mean, if you're not going to call it the shootout, at least call it a better name than the Red River Rivalry. It's like that's hard to say.
They used to call it the shootout in NCAA 2015. I don't know if y'all played that game, but that was one of the rivalries. Remember, you'd win the trophies and stuff. I thought that was good. Who do you think's going to win? Just real quick.
I like Texas. I think their defense is really good. I think Coach Wykowski finally has his what he would call like his guys in there to run his defense. I think Texas might just be a little bit too much for them.
Yep. Izzo?
What was we talked about this, I think, last week. No, there was one of the deep analytical ranking systems had Oklahoma ranked number 1. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do remember that. I can't remember what it was though. I do remember that, but yeah.
I got Texas, and it's completely biased. Texas is like there's no comparison for me to UW, of course, but Texas is kind of like my fringe number 2. I kind of like to see them win team. I like Sark, whatever.
Yep. The dog connection.
Yeah. At Texas.
Right. What about the Bama A&M game? I mean, we're talking Saban versus Jimbo. They don't like each other. What do we see happening there? I mean, A&M isn't as good as Bama is right now, but how do you guys see that shake out?
Man, I think Bama's kind of, dude, honestly, Bama's kind of, I don't know if shambles is the right word, but their QB room is in shambles. I don't even think they don't even know who to start at QB.
What about Milroe?
Dude, have you watched him? I mean, he's a beast. But yeah. Man, I think Texas A&M can beat him.
I feel like that's the SEC in general. Is there's not a lot of big time quarterback play happening in the SEC. It's like everybody left to the draft last year, and now the SEC seems a lot weaker. Izzo, what do you think?
I don't have a deep opinion on this, to be honest with you. I like what I see in Milroe, just being able to bounce outside and create with his feet. So I couldn't give you a detailed analysis on it, but I just think I want to see some of that chatter between Jimbo and Saban again.
You know what I say? Let's say forget the game. I want to see Jimbo and Saban just fight in the middle of the field, death match. Let's call it.
Fight.
Yep. Or you know what? Instead of being so violent, why don't we just have them strap it up and they can root hog right there? Kind of like football practice.
Dude, I will say this, dude. Jalen Milroe is a tank, bro. 6'2", 220, dude. He is I ain't trying to tackle that big boy, man. He's tough too.
I like to have him playing tailback. All right, now if we look at the Pac-12 this weekend, little brother Wazoo all of a sudden is ranked in the top 15. I believe they're ranked 13th right now after another impressive outing. And they're going to be going to UCLA to play Chip Kelly and the Bruins in the Rose Bowl. What do you guys think about how that's going to play out? Izzo, tell me.
This is going to be a really good game, first of all. UCLA's defense has some serious threats, especially rushing the passer. But I think the way Ward can create is going to cause some issues. And they've got some receivers that are some studs, man. But this is going to be a really interesting game. My heart is saying Wazoo. My head is saying UCLA. But I think UCLA can put up some points in this game and has dealt with some tougher defenses in Utah. And so I just think it's going to be I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say Wazoo by 3.
Yeah, I guess my heart can never say Wazoo.
No.
I go. Yeah, I feel like you feel me, Noah.
Apathy.
What do you know? Do you see this playing out as a shootout in California?
I think Wazoo would like it to be a shootout. Dude, I'm sorry. Dude, this is Pasadena. This ain't the Palouse. That 4-0 record's coming to a halt. I don't know if it's going to be more. There's too much on that defensive side at UCLA. Give me the Bruins.
All right. What about Colorado ASU? Colorado, I'll tell you what, that comeback against USC this weekend, I thought the game, I had stopped watching the game. I was like, okay, this is playing out how everybody said it was going to play out. And then next thing you know, my brother texts me they're within a touchdown. What do you guys think about Colorado? You think they're going to go destroy ASU in the desert?
I think they'll get back on track. I really do.
I do too.
Give me prime. Give me prime time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they're inspired. They're playing inspired, at least on offense. I think after watching that game, I think very little of USC's defense. But ASU they're not a team that really poses a lot of any threat, like any team really any threats. So I'll stick with Noah here. I got Colorado
right.
Desert.
All right, Izzo, actually, I want to stick with you then because the next game we're going to get into is the Arizona USC game. And we saw how good Arizona's offense can be. They have to go to Los Angeles. Do you see that defense being susceptible to what Arizona can do after watching Arizona play this past weekend?
I'm calling upset alert. Where is this game? Where is this game again, Mike? Is this game?
It's in LA. LA.
Oh man.
Kind of wish it was in the desert, don't you?
Oh my gosh, dude! I want more good teams in Arizona because I want them to have to deal with that in the desert. Like I think very few teams, especially on defense, can deal with Arizona. And we heard so much like Fafita, just the initial reactions, like we're giving up points to a backup quarterback. Like this is his first true start. Dude, he is tough to deal with. The problems with Fafita that I saw from that game against us was that sometimes it would be hitting his first read, right? And that could be schemed into the offense that he just passes to the first guy. He throws into traffic sometimes. He does the little things but I see him as like a coachable, like a leader type. And I think that he could make that adjustment in a week and not be a guy who throws two passes, one bounces off the chest of Thaddeus Dixon, the other one gets caught by Vince Nunley. And would I be surprised if Arizona beat USC? No. Like they have the receivers, they have the offensive firepower to score enough with Caleb Williams, like keep it close, you know what I mean? But I think that the defense for USC is just not susceptible, and I'm gonna go with it, man. I'm going with my gut on this. I think Arizona is gonna beat USC in the Coliseum.
Ooh, Noah, what do you think? You would agree? Oh, let's see. Wait, put them on. Come on, there we go.
Camera, switch over to me. That's my hot take. Arizona, USC in the Coliseum. Bam.
I love it. And also, I was gonna say, Izzo, the hat is fresh. I don't know if it's new, but I'm liking the hat, bro.
Hey, no one knows what that to me. No one does. I said I love it. I was out the cork hat, bro.
Dude, make sure Izzo, make sure you give Mike his $20 Venmo for that comment.
There we go. Hey, Noah, real quick before we get on, do you have anything to say about the Zona USC game?
Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, Izzo, if you think Zona can beat USC, which that's a good call, bro. That money line is gonna be like plus 700-800. You better put a 50 piece or a Benjamin on that, dude. That's your
hot take. There's your hot take right there. All right, before we get out of here, fellas, is there anything else you want to talk about? Because our time is coming to an end on episode 4.
I want to just call this out. The red zone efficiency for the offense I forgot to bring this up in the Arizona segment, but we were 4 for 4 in the red zone, except for we were 4 for 5 with the Jeremy fumble. Man, I am very, very happy with that. And I think if we can continue to be efficient in the red zone like this, and score touchdowns, that is going to be massive in this game against Oregon. I tip the cap to the run defense. Those two things, if you can score in the red zone, convert, and not settle for field goals and score there, which I think Grubb is capable of, and you don't make these mental mistakes through, with the penalties, and you can at least like on defense put together a scheme and execute on it. Like if you're gonna run, like get home on nicks. If you're gonna blitz the quarterback and you're gonna commit to that, win those reps. Like put your game plan on the field and execute on it. And I know that's a very bland and very open-ended statement. I think we got this game, man. It's gonna be so loud. It's gonna be so loud. Good luck.
All right. Yeah, hey, and Izzo, I know you got more, and we're gonna get really into that. Noah, before we get out of here, is there anything else you want to say?
We got they got Bo Nix. We got Michael Penix, man. It's easy to kind of look at both teams and go, oh, there's a lot of, stars. There's a lot of, big time players on each side, especially the talent, on the outside. But this game's going to be won in the trenches by the Dirt Dogs. Mm-hmm. And whoever can exert their dominance early and often, that's who's going to win this game.
All right. I'm going to pull the reins back on these two because I know they want to go in on the Ducks. But we're going to save that for next week because we have a really big episode. Maybe a special guest or two coming on next week, but make sure you're going to have to tune in to find out. I just want to thank all of you guys for coming out and watching what we're doing. I mean, this is the #1 spot on YouTube for Husky information. So make sure you're hitting that like, subscribe. Make sure you join the Discord. Go check out at dubdup Huskies on Twitter so you can get all this information as it drops. For myself, Mike Flunt, I got Izzo and Noah. Till next week, y'all. Go Dogs.
Dogs,
Go
baby.
Dogs. Go Dogs.